Hi everybody, welcome back to Photon Rookie. This is video number 26. My name's Jim, and today we're going to take the Rosette Nebula and we are going to apply a simple pseudo Hubble palette to it. Just something else to add to your toolkit to change the color of your object if you so desire. So let's get started. Here we have the linear unstretched image of NGC 2244, the Rosette Nebula. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to have a look at how good our data looks. Come down here, click linear, and we'll go to auto stretch. And there we are. We have a pretty good data set. That's about 3,371 10-second fit files from the Seestar S30. And this is not a mosaic. This is the S30's native field of view. And it's kind of nice that it's able to catch pretty much the whole nebula without having to do a mosaic. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go to an image processing. And we're going to come down to remove green noise. And we're going to hit apply. It just removed the green noise. So we'll close this. Let's come up here and save that. And let's go back into a linear image. So we come down here to this auto stretch, click on that and choose linear. Now we're going to do our star separation. So we come up to image processing, come down to star processing, StarNet star removal, click pre-stretch linear image, upsample ×2 and hit execute. Now Siril will remove the stars from the nebula. Again, this is so you can work on and manipulate the nebula without affecting the stars. Okay, the stars are removed. Let's come up here and hit save. And let's come back down here to linear. And again, choose auto stretch. Okay, so here's the Rosette Nebula auto stretch without the stars. Now we're going to do the step that applies the pseudo Hubble palette. So the way we do that is we're going to come up here to image processing. We're going to come down to color calibration. We're going to choose color calibration again, and this box will open up. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to draw a little box, and you want to choose the darkest part of your image, which I think is probably right here. You want to draw a small box with your cursor right there. Then you want to come up here to use current selection. You want to click that. Then you want to come down and hit background neutralization. Okay, that's the first step. The second step we're going to do is we're going to come over here and we're going to draw another box. This time we're going to draw a big box over most of the brightest area of the image, like so. Then we're going to come down here to the bottom half of this box and we're going to hit use current selection and apply. All right, you see what it did to the image. Of course, this is unstretched. We've got a ways to go yet, but now you've really lightened up the core of the Rosette Nebula, give it almost a bluish green tone, while the outside edges of the nebula are still pinkish red and brown. So this is the result we want to see at this point. So we're going to go ahead and hit close. We're going to save this result. We're going to come back down here and put the image back in linear. So that step we just did right there is the only thing that you have to do to get that Hubble palette on there. So now we're going to save this image in the TIFF folder as a TIFF file. Come down here and we change it into a TIFF file. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to save this in my TIFF folder on my desktop so that I can run it through Graxpert. All right, we hit save and save again. Okay, so that image is now in our TIFF folder. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to come up here to open, and we're going to come down and we're going to open the star mask. So these are the stars that we removed from the image earlier. We're going to go ahead and stretch these. So come up here to image processing, generalized hyperbolic stretch transformations, and I want to use, whenever I stretch stars, I like to use modified arcsine transform, and we want to use human weighted luminance. Stars are pretty easy. You just stretch them out to between 7 and 8 thereabouts, and that usually does it. So you have a good amount of stars here. They look natural. You have different colored stars. So we're going to go ahead and apply, and then we're going to close this box. We'll save this image, and then we're going to upload it into the TIFF folder as a TIFF file, the same way we did the starless image. Turn it into a TIFF file, come to our desktop, locate the TIFF folder, and save it, and hit save one more time. Okay, we're done in Siril for right now, so we can minimize that. And I want to come down and open Graxpert. Okay, so Graxpert is open now. So what we want to do is we want to load our starless image in Graxpert. So come up here to hit load image. Make sure you're in that TIFF folder on my desktop. Here's the starless image. Click on it, and Graxpert will load it here. Graxpert will automatically do an auto stretch on it. So the first thing we're going to do, we're going to skip crop, because remember, as we've talked about many times before, you don't want to crop the image when you've removed the stars from it. If you do, you won't be able to join it back to the star mask when you're ready. So make sure you do all your cropping while the stars are in the image. So we skip over crop and we go to background extraction. So background extraction, I'm just going to run it at 0 because we have a pretty good data set here. Hit calculate background. Okay, it just did extraction in the background, so we can come up here, drop down, and look at the background that was removed from the image. Looks like a whole lot of lines here, like as we've talked about before, from a topographical map, and that's what was actually taken out of your image. So let's go back to gradient corrected, and there it is. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to denoise the image. I like denoise strength to be a little over halfway, maybe about 0.7, and click denoise image. This takes a little bit longer than the background extraction does. Okay, that's it. It's looking pretty nice. And that next thing we're going to do is we're going to come to saving, and we're going to hit save processed, and we're going to save it right back in the TIFF folder. So we can close Graxpert. We're done with Graxpert. And we'll come down here and we'll open Gimp. All right, so Gimp's opening up here. So the first thing we want to do is we want to come up here to File, and we want to Open. We want to go to Desktop. Find our TIFF folder. And we want to grab this file here that has Graxpert on it. This is our starless image that we just ran through Graxpert. So we'll select that. It will open up here. There's not much to see because it's not stretched. We want to take this and turn it back into a FITS file and put it back into Siril so that we can stretch it. So what we're going to do is we're going to come up here to File. We're going to choose Export As. We're going to come down here to select File Type, and we're going to choose Flexible Image Transport System, or FITS. So select that, and it turned your file back into a FIT file. And then we're going to put it back in the Siril work folder. Mine's on the D drive, so I choose volume D, and I come down till I find my folder, and here it is, my Siril work folder, and I hit export. Okay, we can now close Gimp. Let's reopen Siril. Come up here to Open and look for the file with Graxpert on it. It's right here. This is the one we just sent from Gimp back into Siril. So we're going to click on it. Screen will open up white. That's okay. That's normal. We're going to come up here to Image Processing, Generalized Hyperbolic Stretch Transformation. We're going to choose Generalized Hyperbolic Transform as the type of stretch. Leave it on Human Weighted Luminance, and we'll start stretching. Okay, apply. So you're seeing the image get a little more detailed, but we're also picking up all this grayness. So what we need to do is we need to get rid of this dead space. The spike on this graph, that's where all the data in your image resides. Everything to the left of this is really a dead space. As I move this spike over, that grayness will disappear. And the way we do that is we come up here to type of stretch, come down to linear stretch black point shift, and as I move this slide bar over, this graph will move left and that grayness will disappear. Now as we do that, we got to make sure we don't clip our image. We need to keep this value right here at 0 or very close to it. So I'll go ahead and start the slider moving to the right. Okay, I took the grayness out, but if you look, we're clipping our image just a little bit. So I want to use this fine-tune adjustment to bring that back to 0. And you see the clip percentage dropping down. You don't want to see a value there because that means you're clipping into the visual data of your image. A little bit more. There we are. So that's at 0. So now we're going to hit apply, and we're going to come back up and go back to our general hyperbolic transform, and we're going to stretch it some more. And I'm going to click logarithmic scale here, because what that does, you watch these lines on this side. A perfect stretch would be a 45-degree angle from here to this corner. Rarely, if ever, will you actually get that, but this is just a kind of guide to show if you've overstretched or understretched. So it looks like I have a little bit more room to stretch these 3 color channels, so I'm going to take up a little more. And that looks about right there. It looks kind of messy because it left your beginning stretch lines there, and these are the new ones. If I go ahead and click off logarithmic and come back to it, it'll show, well, no, it leaves it there. It shows your original lines and then the new ones, so it gets a little messy. So we're stretched about as far as we should stretch the image there. I am going to go back up here and go back down to linear stretch black point shift one more time and see if we can get a little more of this gray area out. Okay, we got a little bit out. There's a little tiny bit of clip percentage there, but that's not enough to do anything. So I'm considering that stretched there. We're going to leave it as is. We're going to hit apply, and you can close this box. Now we're going to take this image and put it back in the TIFF folder as a TIFF file like we did earlier. And we'll save it in the TIFF folder, and it's saved. So now we can minimize Siril. Let's go into our TIFF folder for just a moment. I'm going to do some housekeeping. So we don't need this one anymore, this starless. We can delete that. And we don't need, that's our star mask. And here's our starless image here. So we'll go ahead and close the TIFF file, and then we'll come over and we'll open Gimp up again. Okay, in Gimp we're going to open the starless image of the nebula that we just stretched. So come down to open, we go to our desktop, and we come down and look for our TIFF folder. And we're going to take the starless image with the latest time on it, which will be right here at 17:15. When this box opens up, don't use convert, just hit keep. All right, there's our image. Now, one thing I like to do when working on images in Gimp is I like to go to view and zoom, and I like to select fill window. That takes you way in on the image so that you're looking in detail to what changes you're making to it. First thing we'll do, let's look at colors and color saturation. So you have a slide bar here. You can color how much choose how much saturation you want. You can take it way up or bring it way down to where it's black and white. Let's reset it back where it was. I'm going to take it up a little bit, kind of add some color in there to it. All right, that looks pretty good. Hit OK. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to go up to colors. We're going to come back. We're going to come down to shadows and highlights. Sometimes shadows can bring out details of your object a little bit better, but you have to be careful when you do that because you're also possibly bringing noise out to where you can see it easier. I'm going to take the view and have it fit image in window so we can see the whole image when we do this with shadows. And as I take this slide bar up, you'll see, yeah, it does reveal more detail, more hidden detail, but we're also bringing more noise up with it. So let's reset it back to where it was and see if we can bring it up maybe just a little bit. I would say that's probably good enough there. Next, we'll come down here to highlights and this white point adjustment. And you can see how it changes the image when you slide it back and forth. I think I might take it down a little bit. I like it where it takes a little bit of the grayness out and you can see those colors a little bit better. So let's go ahead and hit OK. Last thing we'll do under colors is come down to brightness and contrast. Sometimes I like to add a little bit of contrast to the image. It'll give it a little bit more definition sometimes, but you have to be careful with contrast because you can also lose detail in your image. So as I take it up a little bit, you can see if you go too far, detail goes away. Looks like a big pile of cotton candy there. If you go too far the other way, it just grays out. So let's reset to our middle point, and I might take it down just a little bit, maybe to about, I guess maybe to about there. You hit OK. Okay, next let's see if we can sharpen it a little bit. We'll come over here to filters and we'll come down to enhance. We'll come over to this box and drop down to sharpen. So as I click on sharpen, it will add some sharpening automatically. So I'll click on it now and you'll see. Yeah, it made it quite a bit sharper, didn't it? I don't really want to be aggressive with sharpening here because I'm going to send this image through a program called AstroSharp, which does a really good at sharpening. So I'm gonna be satisfied with this right now and click OK. Next thing we'll do is we'll add a little bit of noise reduction. So we come back up here to filters again, come down to enhance again, and then come down here to noise reduction. Again, when I click on this, it will automatically apply a little bit of noise reduction. And there you go. It was very subtle, but it's there. Okay, so I'm going to hit OK. I'm going to save this image back into the TIFF folder now, and then we'll send it through AstroSharp. So hit File, come down to Export As. It's already got the TIFF folder here. Now when I hit Export, it's going to ask you if you want to save it over the old version of this file, which has the same name. Yes, you do want to replace it. So hit Replace. Hit Export one more time. And that's it. So now we can close Gimp. And now we're going to open AstroSharp. So I have AstroSharp in this folder on my desktop. As always, sometimes AstroSharp is a little cantankerous to get open. It might take 2 or 3 tries, but not a big deal. So like that time it didn't really open. Let's try it one more time. All right, it opened on the second time. So what we want to do is we want to maximize AstroSharp. We want to come over here and choose model and we want to choose second beta. That's the one I've found that works best of them all. Feel free to experiment with the others if you'd like to. Come up here to preview, hit full image, come over here to browse, click that. We'll be in our TIFF folder, and we want to take our starless image that we worked on in GIMP. So there it is. It looks a little gray. Don't worry about that. That's normal. So since I've got 3,300 fit files, that's a pretty good signal to noise ratio. So I'm going to be aggressive with sharpening. So I'm going to take that aggressiveness slider all the way up. I'm going to take this PSF for DSO all the way up. This one for the stars doesn't really affect anything because there's not really any stars in it. And then I'm going to hit update sliders, and a progress bar will open up right here while AstroSharp does its thing. Okay, results should be loading up. There it is. So there's the image sharpened by AstroSharp. Let's go ahead and download it and take a look at it. So we're going to download this into the TIFF folder. And we'll hit save. And let's just minimize AstroSharp for right now in case we have to come back to it and make adjustments. Let's open up the TIFF folder. Let's open up our processed image. AstroSharp will name the image processed after it gets done. We'll put that there. And let's take a look at the image before we send it through AstroSharp, and we can compare them side by side here. Okay, this has gone through AstroSharp. This is before AstroSharp. I don't see a huge amount of difference, but I do see enough. As you go in, you can tell that the image on the left is somewhat sharper and crisper. You look at this little tendril of gas here, and this one, it just seems to be more well defined. This light colored structure here seems a lot more defined than this one. So it looks like AstroSharp did what it was supposed to do. So we're going to go ahead and keep the processed version. I'm just going to go ahead and get rid of the two old starless versions, just for housekeeping's sake. And I want to go ahead and rename the processed. The reason I'm renaming it, I'm just going to put a 1 in front of the word processed, is because when we send the star mask through, it's also going to try to name it processed. And this way you don't have to rename it later, and it won't try to save it over your nebula. So that's the reason we rename it. So now we can X out of the TIFF folder, and I'm going to open up AstroSharp, and I'm going to close it. I like to close and reopen AstroSharp every time I change images in it, because it just seems cleaner that way. Okay. Usually after you've opened AstroSharp once, you don't have any troubles opening it again. So it should open first time here. And it did. So maximize that. Again, you want to come over to choose model, use second beta. You want to make sure you preview full image. You want to come over to browse. It takes you to your TIFF folder. Here's your star mask. And your star mask is opened up right there. Now with the stars, I'm not going to be nearly as aggressive. The stars look pretty good. As we've seen earlier or before, stars are incredibly easy to mess up. So I keep everything low for the stars. So I'm going to go ahead and hit update sliders, and AstroSharp will do its thing to the stars. Okay, the stars are done. There's the result. Normally I wouldn't even take the stars through AstroSharp, but as we've talked about in every other tutorial on this channel, if you take the nebula through AstroSharp, you have to take the stars through AstroSharp. If you don't, you will not be able to rejoin them back together in Siril. So let's go ahead and save. Save it in the TIFF folder. Now we can close AstroSharp. Again, let's go back to the TIFF folder one more time. And just for housekeeping, we'll get rid of the old star mask. All right, we have our one process, which is our nebula, and we have our process, which is our stars. So what we're going to do now is we're going to open GIMP back up. Okay, GIMP is open. We're going to go up to File and open and desktop and TIFF, and we're going to grab one processed, which is our Nebula, and there it is. So let's go ahead and see if we can do anything with it one more time here in GIMP. Go back up to colors, come down to saturation. Let's change the saturation slider bar a bit and see what happens. I don't want to get too crazy with the colors, but I definitely want enough to be there to make it interesting. I might actually drop the colors a little bit. Yeah, that looks pretty good right there. Let's go back up to colors, come back down to shadows and highlights. Let's see if we can do anything with the shadows slider. Say that's good enough, and let's try the white point adjustment again. Doesn't really have much, well, doesn't have too much of an effect on it. You can really lighten it up if you like that. That's the one thing about astrophotography. Everything is subjective. Whatever you like, that's what you should go for. That looks good to me. I hit OK. All right, let's go back over to filters, see if we can do any more sharpening at all without messing the picture up. So we come down to enhance and come down to sharpen. It added a little bit of sharpness there. I might take that slider down a little bit. Yeah, that doesn't look too bad. Okay. All right, so what I'm going to do is take this image and put it back in Siril so we can marry it back to the stars. So I'll come up here to File, come down to Export As, come down here to Select File Type. I want to select the Flexible Image Transport System Fits, and I want to put it back in my Siril work folder, which is on my D drive. And there it is. And I want to hit Export. Okay. Now, like with AstroSharp, I like to close Gimp and reopen it whenever I bring a new image in it, just for cleanliness. So we'll reopen Gimp and grab our star mask. File, open, desktop. Come down to TIFF. Open the processed, which is our star mask run through AstroSharp. There it is. I'm not going to do anything with it in GIMP, so I'm just going to take it and export it. Again, I got to turn it back into a fits file. Do that right here. Go back and select D where my Siril work folder is. There it is, and hit export. All right, now we can close GIMP and let's reopen Siril. So this is what the image looked like before we sent it out of Siril after it was stretched. I'm going to load our latest image over it right now. So I'm going to come up here to open. I'm going to choose one processed, and there it is. So that's what it looks like at the moment. So I'm going to save that. Now we're going to put the stars back in. So we come up to image processing, come down to star processing. We're going to choose star recomposition. This box opens up. The left side with this graph is for the nebula. The right side is for the stars. So I'm going to come up here to this little folder icon, click on it, and I'm going to download my one processed, which is the nebula. There it is. Then I'm going to come over to the stars side, and I'm going to come up here to this little folder icon, click on it, and I'm going to choose processed right here, which is the stars. So there are the stars back in it. A lot of people like tons and tons of stars in it. I like to dial them back a little bit because I think they tend to take away from the nebula a little bit. So as I reduce them down, that doesn't look too awfully bad there. Kind of like that. So I'll hit apply. And now let's take a look. Let's mess around with the nebula a little bit. Let's stretch it a little bit more and see what happens. Nothing good. Some people might say brighten it up a little bit, but I kind of like it the way it looks there. You can also use your black point. See what that does. It darkens the sky around everything a little bit. But you have to be careful when you use black point because you start cutting image details out. And you can use this little fine adjust. I think I'm going to leave it just as is. So I'll hit apply there, and I'll hit close, and let's go ahead and save this. I'm going to save this with my other images. So the way I do that is I come up, hit this upload button. I'll come down to volume D, and I choose a folder I made called Seestar S30. Then I come over here to Hero. This is where I put all of my finished images, the best of my finished images anyway, go in this folder. And I have one for S30 Hero images. I click on that, and I want to change this into a PNG file. Again, the reason I choose PNG instead of JPEG, PNG just holds a whole lot more information and it's a better looking image. But remember, if you use PNG, it takes up more space on your hard drive. So let's go ahead and save it there. All right, let's go. I want to go to that folder and open the image up and show you a comparison. So let me go back to the D drive. Let me go to Seestar S50. We want to go to Hero, and then we want to go to S30 Hero. Okay, right here is our image that we just created together in Siril during this tutorial. Now I took the liberty of finishing this image without running it through that one step where we added the pseudo Hubble Palette. So this is that image there. Let me move it over. Go ahead and rotate this image so we're getting a better comparison here. Bear with me just a moment. Okay, so you can see the Hubble palette, color palette that we made on the left, and then on the right is just stretched normally with the normal color. Looks like when I processed the one on the right, I got the colors a little more intense. I'm sure you can do the same thing in processing here, but the exercise here was to show you the difference in the color palette, the pseudo Hubble palette, and then the regular color. So it's just that one little step that you do to bring out these different colors. Let's go ahead and do a little editing on this here. See if we can bring it out a little more intensely. So I'll hit edit. and adjustments, and sometimes you'll get noise like this in the corners if you haven't done any cropping. What you could do is you can use Vignette to kind of minimize that if you don't want to crop anything out of the image, and you can see what happens. It kind of gets rid of it. And this editor I'm using is just the stock photo editor that comes with the comes with Windows. So color saturation, again, you can affect it here. I don't think I really want to do more on color. Sharpness, looks fairly good where it is. I don't really want to add anything to it. Exposure, we can make it a little bit brighter there. Contrast, yeah, that doesn't look too bad. I could probably go back and take my time with it and do a better job, but it doesn't look too bad. I'll go ahead and save that. And, you know, putting it next to the normal palette there, it's quite a difference. Like I say, that step we took for the pseudo Hubble palette, it works on most Nebula, and on some items it doesn't have really any effect at all. Anyway, it's just something else you can add to your toolkit to change the color palette in a very easy way. I guess we'll call that finished for now. My birthday's coming up in a few days. If you want to give me a really good birthday present in lieu of sending cash, hit that subscribe button. Our subscribers on this channel are really growing, and it is just a whole lot of fun sharing these tutorials and interacting with you folks on the channel. For an old retired guy, this is a great hobby. So thanks for being a part of it. And this is Jim at Photon Rookie signing off. We'll see you on the next video.